Tēnā koutou e ngā mana whenua o tēnei rohi. E ngā mate, haere, haere, haere atu rā. Tēnā koutou e te whānau o Auckland Unitarians. Haere mai e ngā manihiri. Haere mai koutou ki tēnei whare karakia o te atua. Neki atu i te kotahi rautau e nohu tapu ana. Haere mai e ngā mema o te hui tōpa. Ko Rachel Mackintosh tōko ingoa. Ko te kaiwhakahaere i nāianei. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā rā tātou katoa. And in the reo Pākehā, greetings to the mana whenua of this place, to our dead, farewell, farewell, farewell. Greetings to the Auckland Unitarian family. Welcome to our visitors. Welcome to those on Zoom. Welcome to this church made sacred by Auckland Unitarians for more than 123 years. My name is Rachel Mackintosh and I'm the worship leader today. For those here in person, you're all invited to join us for a cup of coffee or tea immediately following our service. It is our sacrament of hospitality. I particularly welcome a special guest, Keola Whittaker, visiting us from Hawaii. Keola is a student of Unitarian ministry at Starr King School for the ministry in California. It is a treat for us to have a new voice to speak here on Easter. And in the spirit of the harvest, we have also harvested Sumin Kim, who is returning to play the organ for us today and may return at other points later in the year, which is wonderful. I welcome you all to this Easter service, a non-Christian Unitarian service on the holiest of Christian Sundays of the year. May you find in this moment and in this community the comfort and the challenge, the love and the energy that you need. You are welcome as you are. You find us as we are. Maria, could you come and light the chalice? For holy days on which we recall the old stories, we light the flame. For Passover, which reminds us of the courage and strength of those seeking freedom in the past, we light the flame. For Easter, which reminds us that love is our greatest challenge, we light the flame. For gathering today in this sacred space, we light the flame. For the opportunity to be together as a community, to remember the past, to plan for our future, to be alive in our present, we light the flame. My opening words are a blessing for the brokenhearted by United Methodist minister Jan Richardson. Jan opens this blessing with a quote from one of our Unitarian forebears, Henry David Thoreau. There is no remedy for love, but to love more. Let us agree for now that we will not say the breaking makes us stronger, or that it is better to have this pain than to have done without this love. Let us promise we will not tell ourselves time will heal the wound when every day our waking opens it anew. Perhaps for now, it can be enough to simply marvel at the mystery of how a heart so broken can go on beating, as if it were made precisely for this. As if it knows the only cure for love is more of it. As if it sees the heart's sole remedy for breaking is to love still. As if it trusts that its own persistent pulse is the rhythm of a blessing we cannot begin to fathom, but will save us nonetheless. Please, now I invite you to close your eyes for a moment. Breathe in the possibility of the future. Breathe out what is done. And now, if you wish, you're welcome to recite with me the covenant of this congregation. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is the sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony. Thus do we covenant with each other and with thee. I invite you again to close your eyes, take a deep breath in, breathe in the possibility of tomorrow, and breathe out what is done. Reading this morning is Here It Is by Leonard Cohen. Here is your crown and your seal and rings, and here is your love for all things. Here is your cart and your cardboard and piss, and here is your love for all of this. May everyone live and may everyone die. Hello, my love, and my love, goodbye. Here is your wine and your drunken fall, and here is your love for it all. Here is your sickness, your bed and your pan, and here is your love for the woman, the man. May everyone live and may everyone die. Hello, my love, and my love, goodbye. And here is the night has begun, and here is your death in the heart of your son. And here is the dawn until death do us part, and here is your death in your daughter's heart. May everyone live and may everyone die. Hello, my love, and my love, goodbye. And here you are hurried, and here you are gone, and here is the love that it's all built upon. Here is your cross, your nails, and your hill, and here is your love that lists where it will. May everyone live, and may everyone die. Hello, my love, and my love, goodbye. And now I invite Keola, who will give our sermon today.
Good morning. I just want to take a moment to say how touched I am from your Joys and Concerns ceremony. It's one of the benefits of having a small church. I've been in many churches that does Joys and Concerns, but normally they're reading off of a paper and you don't get to hear each person's voice. So that's just such a beautiful thing that you're able to do here. And to Betty from Seattle, I join you in your prayer. I've endeavored to go without paper, so my notes are on my phone. Let me just take a moment to formally introduce myself, because I hope the relationship we form today lasts longer than this afternoon and continues indefinitely. My name is Keola Whittaker, and as you can tell by my Hawaiian first name, I too am a Pacific Islander. I was born on the island of Oahu and live on the island of Maui. And I attend virtually a church in Los Angeles, the First Unitarian Church of Los Angeles, that is also a historic lay-led community. We'll be celebrating our 150th anniversary in 2 years, and I bring love and greetings from First Unitarian in Los Angeles. And it's just such an honor to be with you all this morning, this Easter morning. The autumn air has settled around us now, though I notice it's been unseasonably warm. Just yesterday, I walked through Cornwall Park, watching the leaves turning color before drifting down to carpet the paths. I watched as a father and daughter played in the leaves together, throwing the leaves in the air, crunching them under their feet, and enjoying the season. It struck me how different our experience is here. While people in the Northern Hemisphere celebrate Easter as spring bursts forth, we in Aotearoa mark this season amid autumn's gradual transformation. Here in Auckland, autumn has arrived with quite the mixed message this year, hasn't it? We've had warmth lingering longer than expected, and Cyclone Tam reminded us, rather dramatically, that seasons are indeed changing. Our temperate climate doesn't always follow the textbook transitions, does it? Nature sometimes speaks in exclamation points rather than gentle whispers. Yet even with these weather surprises, we find ourselves in that familiar rhythm, moving from one season to another. I think there's something meaningful in this timing. As the natural world around us prepares for winter, we gather to reflect on our transitions in our own lives. And Easter, regardless of our individual beliefs, gives us this moment to pause and consider the boundaries between endings and beginnings. Looking at those falling leaves in Cornwall Park yesterday, I reflected on how darkness and light, death and life exist together in these natural cycles that connect us all. I reflected on how the leaves don't simply end their story when they fall, they transform. And perhaps that's what brings us here together today. The shared understanding that our lives too are made of endings that somehow become new beginnings. My call to ministry found me through my encounters with death. I have strong memories of being present with my grandparents and other family members as they took their final breaths. I watched as their fears about what happens next fade as they approach their final moments. And as they took their last breaths, I held their hand, felt their transition in my own body, and observed a sense of peace descend. These moments remain a mystery. Science provides theories, but no definitive answers. And what happens after death is an even greater mystery. Religion helps fill in these gaps, and for almost every faith tradition, beliefs about what happens after death inform, at least in part, how we should live our lives. My former minister, Forrest Church, would often say, religion is our human response to the dual reality of being alive and having to die. That insight became even more poignant when he told us that he had terminal cancer and only had months remaining. Outside our windows, autumn whispers to us, while many of Aotearoa's native trees stand evergreen, steadfast through the changing seasons, we see transformation around us. The introduced maples and oaks show their brilliant colors. The air shifts, light changes, days shorten. Our landscape reflects our spiritual diversity. Some parts remain constant, others transform dramatically. Both have wisdom to share. The falling leaves speak a truth. They don't simply die, they transform. Their green yields to brilliant displays of red and gold before they release their hold. Their letting go isn't failure, it's surrender to a greater cycle. There's something profound in marking Easter during autumn rather than spring, I think. It reminds us that preparation for new life often requires release and surrender and transformation. I sometimes imagine the deciduous trees feeling anxious about losing their leaves. If the trees had therapists, they might express concern. I'm not so sure about this letting go business. What if my leaves don't grow back? What if next spring never comes? And yet the leaves fall, and the pohutukawa and kauri trees stand nearby, evergreen witnesses to the cycle of their deciduous neighbors. Year after year, they watch the falling, the decomposition, the return to earth that nourishes new growth. Nothing truly lost, only transformed. Most of us fear death. Many days I do. We dread the unknown. We resist the end. We cling to those we love. I remember my great-aunt's final year. Amazingly, she predicted it. I recall her telling me as she handed over a few mangoes from her mango tree that this would be her last mango season. Don't be silly, I said. You'll see a few more. But it became clear that my words were said more to comfort me than to comfort her. I'm not afraid anymore, she whispered. I'm curious. Curious, not fearful. Western Buddhist writer Alan Watts addressed our fear within his critique of what he called the divided mind. He explained that our dread of death comes from the mindset of expectation. When each moment becomes an expectation, he wrote, life is deprived of fulfillment, and death is dreaded, for it seems here that expectation must come to an end. Death isn't the end of bodily life. For the divided mind, it's the end of hopes and plans not yet realized, the cessation of all of our tomorrows. But what if we could shift our perspective? What if, like the autumn leaves, we could see death not as an ending, but as transformation, a threshold to be crossed rather than a wall that stops our journey? The cornerstone of universalist theology is universal salvation. the belief that an all-loving divine force would not condemn anyone to eternal suffering. Early American Universalists taught that all souls would ultimately be redeemed. And while contemporary Unitarian Universalists may question the idea of an afterlife altogether, the values inherent in universal salvation continue to influence us, reflected in our affirmation of the inherent worth and dignity of every person. What we can say with confidence is that conceptions of metaphysical hell, eternal damnation, and related concepts like original sin are counter to our theology. We know what the afterlife is not. But unlike other religions that offer more concrete conceptions of what happens after death, we take a more open-ended approach. We don't say what the afterlife is. We encourage the free and responsible search for truth and meaning, including what happens after our final breath. That openness is both comforting and discomforting. With uncertainty, fear can arise. The unknown is scary, even if we know we won't enter the inescapable heat of fire and brimstone. This brings us to Easter. A stone rolled away, an empty tomb, grief transformed to wonder. Whether we understand this story as literal truth or a powerful metaphor, it speaks to something universal, our longing to transcend death's finality. In this ancient narrative, love doesn't end with the last heartbeat. The tomb becomes not an endpoint, but a doorway. The stone that sealed it becomes not a barrier, but a threshold. Just a few months ago, I received an unexpected call. The voice on the other end belonged to the mother of one of my dearest friends. There was a tremble in her words as she shared something with me she had not found the courage to tell her own son. She had just received a terminal diagnosis. "I only have a few months left," she said. We spoke for a while, but barely mentioned her illness. Instead, we talked about her son, about her love for him. That was the very reason she called me. You see, as she faced her own mortality, her thoughts weren't centered on herself. Her heart ached not for her own pain, but the grief her son would carry. She really needed to know that he would be comforted when she shared the news. "How do I help him understand?" she asked me. "How do I leave him without breaking his heart?" In that sacred moment between us, I shared the wisdom I had received from Reverend Forrest Church, that love doesn't end with death, it just changes form. When you leave your physical body, your son will experience you not just as a memory, but as presence. A mother's love, perhaps the most powerful force in this universe, cannot be extinguished by death. It endures, it continues, it remains present long after final goodbyes are spoken. I'm here with you this morning not to ask you to believe in the physical resurrection in the Easter story. That's not our Unitarian way. But I invite you to consider the wisdom in the metaphor. What if love truly is stronger than death? What if the boundaries we perceive between life and death are more permeable than we imagine? I believe there are 2 points of confidence about death. First, there's nothing to fear about the afterlife. And second, the process of dying, even when there is some physical pain, ultimately glides into immense feelings of peace. My certainty about the peaceful nature of death comes in part from Reverend Church's observations on near-death experiences. Studies with those who have near-death experiences often describe being outside the physical body, having sensations of peace, joy, and harmony. They also often lead to significant changes in a person's life, increasing their emphasis on love and empathy. As Reverend Church observed, the patterns in these memories are remarkably similar. No one is eager to return to life. Their experience of the beyond is completely peaceful. They are enveloped in a diverse embrace. We may make other observations about death from science. Studies show as death approaches that brain activity rapidly increases and there's a release of serotonin, a brain chemical that plays a role in our moods, suggesting that feelings of happiness and contentment in our final moments. The chemical DMT, which is also released at death, can cause profound feelings of unity and the dissolution of boundaries between the self and the external world. While observations in science can help inform our conception about what happens in the beyond, it is important to remember that theology is poetry, not science. My own theology about the afterlife is informed by philosophy, literature, science, and observations, but ultimately, it is rooted in faith. I have faith that there is nothing to fear about death. What comes next may last for a few minutes or an eternity, but we can be certain, absolutely certain, about one thing. It will be okay. It will be okay. The impact of love stands central to my own understanding of life after death. The love we share creates a legacy that bodily death cannot touch. In a sermon, Reverend Church explained that just as Jesus' love continues long after his crucifixion, our love lives on. He said, death is love's measure, not because at a loved one's death our grief equals our love, but also because when we ourselves die, the love we have given during our brief span of days is the one thing death can't kill. God is love, and only love remains, only the love we give away. I think of a friend who lost his daughter, an experience no one should go through. He once told me that he felt her presence strongly when he's helping someone the way she would have. When he poured himself into his volunteer work helping others, her compassion flows through his hands. In those moments, the veil between life and death thins. His daughter really isn't gone. She's transformed. Love transcends. Each act of kindness strengthens our bonds with each other and with the broader community. Each moment of compassion weaves us more tightly into the fabric of humanity. We are not separate beings in this world alone. We are connected to each other, to those who came before, and to those who will follow. Love forever impacts our community and our universe. This love needs no grand gestures, a quiet moment of listening, a hand held in silence, a meal prepared with care. These simple acts continue touching hearts long after we're gone. They become our resurrection. This unique Unitarian theology provides a tremendous lesson on how we ought to live. If love lives on, then our task while we are alive is to share as much love as we can. That is our purpose and the meaning of our existence. Consider again the changing season. The leaves don't clutch desperately to their branches. They flame into their most brilliant colors before letting go. Their release isn't failure, it's fulfillment. I was recently on a flight with an older couple going to Hawaii for a vacation. I ended up sitting next to the wife. "I'm in the autumn of my life," she told me, "and it's beautiful here." I thought that was truly profound. In their final years, they focused not on fear, but on wonder. As we continued chatting, and I shared how busy I was with work, her words came with a lesson for me. "Don't wait for autumn," she said. "Live brilliantly now." What if we approached our own autumn seasons and eventually our winter with such grace? What if we released expectations and fear, transforming into our most authentic and vibrant selves before crossing that final threshold? As we gather on this autumn Easter morning in the most beautiful country on the planet, I offer you not certainty about what lies beyond death's threshold, but a profound truth I've witnessed at many bedsides. Love transcends death. Here we have certainty about our afterlife. We actually do live forever. We are, in a profound sense, immortal. Our love, the love we share with our community, continues long after we are gone. This truth transcends theological debates about souls or physical existence. Death cannot extinguish this love. It becomes our legacy, rippling outward through lives and generations. And even when the last person who remembers our name is gone, the love we've given continues its quiet work through the world. The Easter story, whether understood as literal or metaphorical, invites us to stand at the threshold between these realms to recognize that the boundary may be more permeable than we imagine. So as the autumn leaves fall around us, let us remember, nothing that is loved is ever truly lost. The leaves return to earth and become nourishment for what will grow again. Our acts of love continue to ripple outward long after we are gone, nourishing the world in ways we may never fully comprehend. In this season of transformation, it is my hope, it is my prayer that we learn from the wisdom of the autumn leaves to release with grace, to transform into our most brilliant selves, and to trust in the eternal cycle of which we are all a part. May we share love abundantly while we are here, knowing that in doing so, we create our own resurrection in the lives and hearts of those we touch. In the face of mortality, may we find not fear but wonder. In the presence of uncertainty, may we find not anxiety but possibility. And then the reality of death, may we find the invitation to love more deeply, more authentically, and more openly in the precious time that we are given. For in the end, it is not the duration of our lives that matters most, but the love that flows through them. And that, my dear friends, is a resurrection we can all believe in. Amen.
I invite you to say with me the words for Extinguishing the Chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment, or the power of transformation. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. So my closing words are by Maria Popova, and they relate to an observation of James Baldwin, and actually James Baldwin is often has this quote attributed to him, but it wasn't him. The longer I live, the more deeply I learn that love, whether we call it friendship or family or romance, is the work of mirroring and magnifying each other's light. Gentle work, steadfast work, life-saving work in those moments when life and shame and sorrow occlude our own light from our view. But there is still a clear-eyed, loving person to beam it back. In our best moments, we are that person for another.